What's up, guys? On today's podcast, I got Peter Cownie. We're talking my favorite topic, the Iowa State Fair. What's up? What's up, Peter?
What's up, Grubb? Good to be here.
So I have one dying question that I really want to know.
Please.
You're in Minneapolis. You're in the arena. Your alma mater, you realize they win a national championship. Some people laugh, some people cry, high five, high 10. I mean, it's like a group hug. Just unpack for me the 3 minutes following Virginia winning a national championship in basketball.
It was fun. It was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. It was crazy. I was with a bunch of friends. There were some tears. We kind of all congregated together in some seats, and people were very emotional. A buddy, actually, Bo Anderson, was with me, and he filmed it in overtime, the last minute leading up to it. So we have it from behind, filming us, and everyone's going nuts. And it was cool because we were pretty lucky, fortunate to get into overtime. And then we won by 8 in overtime. Free throws kind of ran away with it. So we knew it was coming. So everyone was excited for the end to come. And it was pretty cool. You know, we followed it, like, at least from my point of view, you start to, get to know these guys. You follow them so closely, and you're calling them by their first name and stuff. It's hilarious. Come on, Ty. Come on, Dre. But it was fun. Some of the most fun I've ever had. It was a ball.
What an incredible story, though, just in sports in general. You're the first team to lose. I mean, I got to think, even as a fan, right? As a ex-student athlete, your buddies are busting your balls relentlessly. I mean, you're getting tons of text messages that you lose for the first time ever to a 16th seed.
When we lost UMCC, whatever they're called.
Don't even want to remember their name.
Don't even really want to remember. It was a dark time, and I remember I did turn my phone off, but I remember listening to that game, and it started to go downhill fast. And then Jim Nance was calling the game, and he said, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, campus located right by BWI Airport here in Baltimore. And everyone was just like, located right next to BWI Airport, which is not a great airport. And everyone was just like, that's the final dagger here. That's how this place is described. And they took down the number 1 overall seed. But it was a great story of redemption for sure. I mean, Tony Bennett has changed that place. He's changed that school. He's changed that team. The guy's a class act. I mean, we feel so lucky to have this guy. And hopefully he stays there the rest of his career because he has changed things. He does it the right way. Really, a lot of cliches you could give on that guy, and they're all true for a reason. He's really good.
Yeah. So for people listening or watching that don't really know, I mean, you went to Dowling, went to University of Virginia. Yeah. Did you play tennis? You were a tennis player?
Yeah, played tennis at University of Virginia for 2 years. And we were kind of mediocre then, middle of the pack, or, a little bit upper pack of the ACC. They got really good with a new coach who started my third year. They won 3 or 4 national championships. So they're like top 5 in the nation now. But yeah, played 2 years of tennis there. It was great. Wonderful school. Loved it. Charlottesville, Virginia, one of my favorite places in the world.
Nice. So I kind of have a good sense, but kind of walk me back from coming back to Des Moines, school, work. I know you did some work at Junior Achievement, and I want to jump into, where you're at now, but kind of give that segue.
Sure. I graduated from Dowling 2 years ahead of you, Grubb, 2 years before you. I went to University of Virginia undergrad and graduated in 2003 and moved to Washington, D.C. after college. My girlfriend, Mary, we started dating. She was at Roosevelt. I was at Dowling. She went to the University of North Carolina on Chapel Hill, which is about 3.5 hours away from UVA. We dated for our first year of college. Then it didn't work out after that. We kept in touch, got back together after college once we both moved to Washington, D.C. Lived there about 3 years. It was great. It's kind of a lot of friends there, still do, who moved there after college. Washington, D.C. Is actually a very young town. Lots of kids move there after college. There are lots of entry-level jobs, and you move on up, it was really fun. It was a great time of our life living there. And we lived there for a few years. Mary worked for the Bush administration. I worked for the Department of Transportation. And we decided to, let's see how it go down. I moved home. She still lived out there for several months. We got engaged, got married in 2008. We were 28 years old. And I started working for Junior Achievement of Central Iowa, which is an organization that teaches kids, grades K through 12, about how to succeed in business and entrepreneurship. It's wonderful. I loved it. And it's a great program. And I did that for 5 years. And since then, I've been working at the Iowa State Fair Blue Ribbon Foundation.
Nice. Love it. Unpack for me, like junior achievement's something like I think a lot of people do in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in a bunch of the different high schools. I know we did it at Dowling. And it's kind of one of those at the time, like where you basically do a T-shirt and you like hide inappropriate things like a pack of chew or like a beer or something on a T-shirt. Like, remember that? Like
Those things did happen.
Yeah, you tried to come up with a T-shirt that you could sell that had like hidden things in it. Like that was sort of my memory of junior achievement. But as I matured in life and to really understand from the business sense, what that does to help instill that in kids. I mean, kind of unpack what's some of your favorite memories or things that made an impact for high school kids in Central Iowa.
You've matured gracefully and proudly, I would add. Junior achievement, basically you get volunteers in the community who are willing and able and want to go into a classroom, and it goes from kindergarten through senior high school. And that volunteer gets a curriculum from junior achievement. And they usually go in there during a social studies class or an economics class. In our case at Dowling, it was during an economics class, and they teach junior achievement a handful of times. And they're teaching them about why they should be saving money, how to put a business plan together, how to do a resume, how to do a job interview. A lot of things that complement what you're learning in school, but you're then hearing it from someone in the real world in business who teaches that curriculum and gives their own anecdotes to go with it. And part of that was, you have contests, you make a T-shirt, who can sell the most, and, it's a little business plan. So, yeah, and there were lots of little tricks that kids played with those things through the years.
Not to ruin it for current 17-year-old juniors.
You gave them some good ideas.
Right. But why is it not more part of the curriculum? I mean, why is that? Like, you look at it now and you think of just personal finance and personal accounting and business accounting.
Yeah.
Understanding all those things, why is that not a deeper part of the curriculum? I mean, is that something you guys advocated for on behalf of junior achievement?
I mean, part of the day-to-day of junior achievement is you have to go, you have to get through the bureaucracy. You have to sell it to the district, to the superintendent, to the school itself, to the teacher, to let you come in and teach it. And, it's all validated and all that how effective it is, but you got to go through that and you got to get everyone to buy in. And we grew every year that we were doing it. It's frankly, there's nothing more prevalent and nothing more important than teaching kids right now about how important their own financial success is. There's so many kids. I used to always use the anecdote. They don't know the difference between a debit card and a credit card. They don't have a savings account. They don't understand why you should save money. They don't understand the power of interest, compound interest. And these are things, for better or worse, our schools aren't always teaching this stuff. And that is where junior achievement fit in to complement. And we get the volunteers from the local business community to do it. It was wonderful.
A big passion of mine is Iowa Skilled Trades Academy, obviously within our industry, but just teaching young kids skills and tools that they're going to use for the rest of their life. And it is sort of funny to think just as simply the difference between like a debit card and a credit card. Maybe some you would take for granted, but I don't remember if it's something that I remembered.
No.
Like I would have even understood. And it's nice now to like be able to tap back into that. But how has junior achievement sort of grown now in its engagement with the kids and offering more opportunities with what it's doing? Because who's leading it now?
Ryan Osborne.
Yeah, Ozzy was in my class.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Our kids are on a baseball team together. Ryan's the coach at Sacred Heart. But it's grown. It's a worldwide organization.
Yeah.
And they are, I mean, that's what he's working on every day, let alone raising money. You got to raise the money to grow the program and then go sell the program to the schools. And it is growing. They're doing a really good job. I use my own personal anecdote. I didn't have a credit card till I was like 25 years old. And, you try to explain to somebody, and these credit card companies are coming onto college campuses and people are just loading up credit card debt on top of their student debt. These are the things that you can get to them early, and you can avoid some of these problems. And that literally is what Junior Achievement can do and does.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, one of the stories that's really funny to me, just in terms of the Iowa State Fair, which is one of my favorite topics, as you know.
Yeah, amen. Me too.
When everybody met my wife, it was just kind of like, oh, where are you from? What do you do? Have you been to the Iowa State Fair?
Yeah.
And she's like, I would never go to the Iowa State Fair. And it almost ruined it right out of the gate. But she's become a trooper and kind of come around to it. I get a really good sense of like the Blue Ribbon Society and the understanding of that. But unpack sort of the role of the Blue Ribbon Foundation in the history of itself within the Iowa State Fair. Why does the Blue Ribbon, why does it exist?
Well, on a side note, I've got a lot of great photos over my time at the fair. One of my favorite photos is the Grubbs and the twins winning the twins contest
nice.
That you sent me
last
year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah. It's a big debate right now. I think we're one and done.
I understand.
I think she wanted to win the title.
Go out on top.
That's it. I think I think she won. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Those kiddos will love it.
Yeah.
When they can appreciate it. Okay. The Iowa State Fair has been around since 1854, and it has it's been at various different locations in Iowa. Started out in Fairfield, kind of wandered around a little bit in southeastern Iowa.
I want to test
Des Moines.
I want to test your history a little bit.
It's fair.
No
pun intended.
Give me context of 1854.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you know who the president was? I think it was Franklin Pierce.
Franklin Pierce, right before Abraham Lincoln, right?
Two before. Google told me this.
I like it. Buchanan
was next.
Got
Good
it.
man, yeah. But, all right, 1854, Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri.
Missouri.
That's
good.
Was just Missouri. There was no. So Kansas and Nebraska became a state in 1854. And what was Iowa? 1846-ish? 5, 4, 5, 6?
I think 1846, yeah.
Right.
Sounds right.
And we're like the 29th state. So the reality is when Iowa starts its first fair in Fairfield, like you say, there's what? 29, 30, 31, 32 states.
Yeah.
I mean, pre-Civil War, that just fascinated me because I'm aware of like the 1854 Society and some of the different stuff. And so in my mind, I just want to sort of put into context where that was in time.
Yeah.
The Iowa State Fair is pre-Civil War, pre-Abraham Lincoln.
Crazy.
That's phenomenal. Do you know what the first budget was? I read this on your site.
It was under 100,000, I believe, wasn't it?
No, the budget for the first fair.
Yes, it's on a plaque right by the Ag Building. What did it say on the website?
$323.
Under 10,000.
Price of admission was 25 cents.
Yeah.
One other little fun fact that I sort of read like in that realm was like the second or third year that they had the fair, the same one ticket was used like 2,000 times.
Yeah.
So they had to go with like a whole entire new ticket procedure for people.
Every year I get people who come up to me and say how they used to sneak into the fair and how the good old days they used to be able to do that, and they can't do that anymore.
Well, it was a big, huge thing in 1868.
That's good stuff.
All right, so fair starts 1854. Yeah.
So the Blue Ribbon Foundation is 27 years old, thereabouts. And you would have thought this would have existed for a long time, but there was not a fundraising arm of the Iowa State Fair. And actually, a big impetus for starting the Iowa State Fair Blue Ribbon Foundation was an editorial that got written in the Des Moines Register that kind of called out the Iowa State Fair. It had said it had become an embarrassment to Iowans. We had sidewalks falling apart, we had roofs falling apart, we had leaks, and this was supposed to be a great celebration of Iowa industry, agriculture, tourism, food, livestock, down the line, everything that the Iowa State Fair stands for. And it had become an embarrassment.
Is the infrastructure like most of the infrastructure is like pre-World War I, pre-World War II? So, I mean, we're coming up on like 70, 80 years that the infrastructure has now not been touched. Is that safe to say?
So, yes, and it's safe to say, certainly for a lot of the infrastructure on grounds, some was built during the Depression that were projects of the New Deal, like the Youth Inn Cultural Center, for example. Others, yes, are 19th century. So it's like building a house, as we know out here at Jerry's Homes. It takes some upkeep. It takes, you're not just building a house. You have to take care. You have to maintain it, and it wasn't being taken care of. And the Des Moines Register called it out. Said this become an embarrassment to Iowans. We're supposed to be a celebration of Iowa every August, and this has become an embarrassment. And Governor Branstad was governor at the time. And
we've had other governors.
A movement was started that resulted in the Blue Ribbon Foundation. My successor, John Putney, was the first executive director of the Blue Ribbon Foundation, and it has been a great success story not only for Iowa and the Iowa State Fair, but it really has been a great success story for internationally and nationally what the Blue Ribbon Foundation has done. We've raised over $160 million for infrastructure improvements on the fairgrounds. You see it everywhere you walk on those fairgrounds every August. I get calls multiple times a year of people wanting to pick our brain about how we've done it, how the dollars were raised, what was successful, what wasn't successful. And it's a testament to Iowans, how much they love their fair and want to support their fair, which makes my job fun. They want to keep this place great and make it even better for their kids and grandkids. So that makes my job fun.
How do you explain to your friends in Virginia or Washington, D.C. that, sometimes you get to the East Coast and they don't even know that the country exists to the West? How do you explain the Iowa State Fair, and why is it important? Why is it relevant? Why is this something worth hanging on to and keeping great?
Yeah, it's a good question. Not easy to do with some folks from the East Coast. They see it during caucus time. The Iowa State Fair is it's really a hotbed during caucus time and all the politicians coming. 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe, we had President Trump, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders all there on the same day. It was a day that I will probably never experience a mess like we had that day with all three of them on the fairgrounds the same day. It was crazy. But a great crazy, and it brings a highlight to the fair nationally, internationally that some of my friends do see, so they appreciate from that vantage point. I try to get them all to come out, which is a great burden on my wife because I'm doing a lot of things during the fair, and she does a lot of the entertaining with our friends who do come in. But the best way to explain the Iowa State Fair is what it means to Iowa, and what it means to Iowa. This is what I tell to my friends who aren't from Iowa. The Iowa State Fair is located in our biggest urban area, but we are still an agricultural fair, and we will always be an agricultural fair because of what agriculture means to Iowa. But what it does mean is agriculture literally convenes on the biggest urban center in Iowa. This is where rural meets urban every August. And, someone like me, I grew up in urban Iowa. I grew up in Des Moines. I didn't grow up on a farm. And I have a lot of friends who did the same thing. But they get to go to the Iowa State Fair, and they get to see, what rural Iowa is all about. I mean, you see the 4-H kids and the FFA kids showing livestock, walking around with their livestock during the fair. Not every fair is like that in America anymore. Very few, actually. It's a dying breed. But those are our roots, and they'll always be our roots. And it's something that, we all feel strongly that need to be our roots. And that's kind of a motivating deal for us.
You said that to me before, that we're one of the very few states that still does the livestock.
Yeah.
What other states do that?
Well, I can tell you more fairs are, more fairs are, call them eating and drinking fairs.
Got it.
You don't see, what I always say, you don't see kids in their 4-H or FFA uniform walking around with a cow. You just don't see that. You do see that at the Iowa State Fair. You see a lot more. You go there to eat, you go there to drink. You're not going there to watch a livestock competition. Minnesota is a wonderful fair. They get 1.6 million to 1.8 million people there every year, but it's not a big agricultural fair. It's located in Twin Cities, and it's a bigger urban area than we have. I'm going to go to the Wisconsin State Fair this year, which is in Milwaukee, which is kind of like that as well, but we want to check it out. Not quite as big as us or Minnesota, but
do they drink beer at the Wisconsin State Fair?
They do drink
How
some
much beer statistically do the people at the Wisconsin State Fair drink in comparison to the Iowa State Fair?
Wisconsin's a great beer drinking state. Most Iowans would say there's a lot of beer drinking goes on at the Iowa State Fair, and there are plenty of places to get a beer. People like to have a good time, and it's funny. I might butcher these numbers a little bit, but basically, thereabouts, we'll sell 5,000 kegs in 11 days at the Iowa State Fair. Okay, and Wisconsin State Fair, and we'll have 1,100,000 people. Wisconsin State Fair, same number of days, they'll have 900,000 people, so 200,000 fewer people. They will sell about 15,000 kegs of beer. 3 times the number, 3 times as much beer as we have at Iowa State Fair. It's nuts. I met the Wisconsin State Fair manager a couple months ago. We were laughing about that one.
That's one of my all-time favorite fair facts. I hear we have an official craft beer. I just saw that.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. How about that?
That's cool. Exile, Ruthie.
Love it.
First time ever. First official craft beer.
Yeah.
They're going to sell 6-packs of that. Our logo will be on it leading up to the fair.
Oh, love it.
And you'll see it more and more around the fair this year. Kind of a local new craft beer.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that only makes sense. There was something you touched on earlier talking about, it's the one time a year that you bring rural Iowa together with urban Iowa. And the thing that I love, this is probably one of my favorite quotes that I found really in anything that I've ever read about the Iowa State Fair. This is in 1881. Historian James Wilson noted, one of the most valuable effects of the state fair is the fraternizing, humanizing consequences of bringing our people together. No one meets and mingles with 20,000 Iowa men, women, and children on the fairgrounds, the only place they can be brought together without growing of sympathy. I mean, essentially saying, like, as Iowans, we sort of go in our modern way, we go back to our lives. We go to our urban lifestyle or a downtown lifestyle, right? And we go out to a rural Iowa, or we go to our suburbs or whatever. But the one thing that is uniting for Iowans, and it's so unique, and you feel that and experience that, and it's politicians and business people and everybody from the Iowa, at the Iowa State Fair has that opportunity to be able to come together. And that's the coolest part of the entire thing. And I got to think the opportunity to sort of just be out there and be a part of that and see that, it's got to be the best part.
I love it. My job is one of one in this state. I feel very blessed to have it. We're making decisions, and people are supporting this, which will impact generations to come, which is really special and neat and rare. It's only going to get better because the fair is getting bigger, but we're always going to maintain our traditions as well. And I think that's what Iowans want, as well as it getting bigger and better. I say we're only limited by real estate because we really are only limited by real estate, things that we can do out there. And it's we set a record last year with attendance, and I'm hopeful we'll get another record this year.
Yeah, the weather was good.
Weather was good. Weather dictates a lot. It's true.
So one thing I'm very interested in, and this is a hypothetical. This could be difficult, but just do your best. You get one more day.
Yeah.
You get to name the band in the grandstand. Let's say there's a free stage, something, right? And of all the events in the 11 days that are there, okay, so I know they do some of the different shows, some of the different livestock. They do a lot of the different talent shows or contests and whatnot. you got one day. Unpack that day for me. What's that day look like?
To bring in whoever we could, going back in time? Or...
No, I'm saying you and your family, you get one more day. You get one day at the fair, and this is, they said, Peter, you're the head coach today. You get a customized Peter Cownie day at the Iowa State Fair.
Of what we already have going on out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now you can't eat yourself to death.
No.
So you're limited to a few meals, a few shows, sneak in a nap.
Right on.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, what's that day look like, and what does it culminate with? And let's say it has to end in the grandstand with a show. And you can pick anybody living.
Okay, got it.
And money's not an object.
Money's no object. I like this. A walk in the early morning through the livestock barns as things are getting started is very cool. It's very Iowa. It's very Iowa State Fair. You can only do it there. Is worth your time. A wonderful way to start your day out there. I like JR Donuts for breakfast. My wife likes the Methodist stand for breakfast. If we can get in there and get a table, that's a good thing. I would take our 3 little ones to Little Hands on the Farm in the morning to get through there a little bit quicker and with less stress. That is really neat and unique to Iowa State Fair as well. Teach kids about farms. I always do Iowan of the Day every day on the Riley stage. It's a special deal for me and for the fair and for the foundation where we honor one person who gets nominated, who's been kind of a great volunteer in their community. Do that every day at 2 o'clock on the Riley stage. That would be part of my day. I would have dinner at Cattleman's, my favorite. I'd either get prime rib or a steak sandwich. Mary would probably get a hot beef sundae with the tomato on top.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I would say this: the one band who I wish I'd seen in my life was Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
that would have been. I think they would have been absolutely fabulous to see in concert. I can imagine what they would be like. The Iowa State Fair would be really cool. But I personally think the first Sunday of the Iowa State Fair this year, Zach Brown Band. That's our first act we've ever paid $1 million for. And it's going to be, I think, one of the most, if not the most special night we've ever had on that grandstand, because I think it's going to be such an amazing show. Now, I'm a little biased because I like his music a lot, but I think it's going to be a hell of a night and a hell of a show in there. So it'd be a great way to end it, and fireworks right afterwards.
Nice. Is there a go-to after-concert meal? Back to the donuts?
Donuts are good. We what do we get? Sometimes we get a gizmo. And
nice.
cheese curds too.
I'm a late night cheese curd guy for the road, like on the walk.
Can't go wrong.
No, I love it. What? So I want to finish up. I want to do a couple little trivia. I want to see some fun facts. Okay, this is the one that I just have found to be super fascinating in terms of one of the most viewed events. But how many railway locomotive collisions have taken place at the Iowa State Fair?
1, FDR and Hoover.
Really? I got 1932 was like the big one.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was, we have video of that up in our gallery, which is pretty cool. And they were loaded with dynamite and they exploded when they hit one another. It was in the grandstand.
Wasn't there a guy that like flew a plane into a house?
Yeah.
And then like 4 years later he came
crazy
and like crashed his car into a house that then blew up?
Yeah.
How do we get that back on? How do we get that back?
We'll work with our insurance. But yeah, those locomotives were cool. It was right before FDR and President Hoover from Iowa were running against one another. And they did that deal in the grandstand. It's really amazing.
So 1990, who replaced Ricky Van Shelton last second?
That's a good one. I don't know.
Garth
Brooks.
His
I love it.
First appearance, Ricky Van Shelton canceled day of. And I don't know if he's in the air or whatever. And one memory I have of actually being at the fair that night, we didn't go to the show. I remember a woman sitting outside, like holding like a poster, crying after the show. Like I'm 8 years old.
Garth's one of my go-tos on Sirius XM, his channel. He was so awesome at Wells Fargo a couple years ago. One of the best shows I've ever seen. He would be top of the list too to bring back the Iowa State Fair. It'd be big.
Well, I love it. Well, I appreciate you coming out. You know, I was like talking about the fair. I want to do this out at the fair maybe one day.
Yeah.
And we can get some other people on and just talk about the fair and
good idea.
Eat food, drink beer. But appreciate you coming out.
Thanks, Grubb.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
buddy.
man.